What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're talking wholesale. Specifically, 3 things you can start to do as a beginner wholesale seller to open up more wholesale brand accounts. That's going to ultimately be the major indicator of how successful you are as a wholesale seller. So stick around for the video. Specifically, number 3, you'll want to learn about number 3 and enjoy. So the first item we're going to talk about today in regards to getting more wholesale accounts open, and this is not meant to be sarcastic, is just by doing more, right? I get a ton of DMs and messages about, I've called 5 wholesalers, I haven't opened up any. Or I've emailed 10 wholesalers and I haven't opened up any. This wholesale thing's not working. Well, that's just because you haven't done enough, right? Wholesale is a numbers game, just as online arbitrage sourcing is a numbers game. With wholesale, if you commit to calling 50 brands each and every week over the next 4 weeks, that's 200 brands total. You will naturally probably open 30, 40, 50 of those brands, 20 at the minimum, right? 10% open rate, 20% open rate, that's pretty industry standard. Out of those 10 or 20%, a handful of those will be profitable. That's just the nature of the game. So if you tell me you're only opening, I've only opened 2 accounts. Well, how many have you reached out to? 10x what your input is, and your output will likely multiply as well, right? And so that's step 1, is to really look at yourself, really look in the mirror in terms of what your input is in this wholesale thing. We can't complain about not opening up wholesale accounts if you've only sent a couple emails, haven't gotten a few no's, and that's it, right? We have to commit to this wholesale thing if it's really something we're looking to build, and it starts with the outreaches. Commit to reaching out to 50 brands each and every week over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, and I promise you, after those 4, 5, 6 weeks, you will have a significant result to be proud of and to show for after that effort. Step 2, item number 2 that we're going to be talking about is really fine-tune your approach. What does that mean in terms of wholesale? First and foremost, we shouldn't be reaching out, emailing with a Gmail, right? You need to be emailing and approaching with a professional domain, purchasing at GarrettGorrellWholesale.com. Wholesale suppliers or partnerships at GarrettGorrellWholesale.com. Purchasing at whatever it is, whatever your brand business is, specifically, hopefully to a specific niche, create and buy a domain in regards to that, right? Our brands are going to take you a whole lot more seriously seeing an email come in with and from a professional domain specific to their niche. So if you're reaching out to 100 pet supplies, I would even use, because the whole DBA, doing business as, it doesn't even need to account or match your Amazon account or your LLC, whatever the case may be, right? If you are really focused on a specific niche, pet supplies, automotive, tools, create a wholesale brand label around that niche and use that, get the domain and use that as your outreach, right? That's first and foremost in regards to outreach. We want to be professional in how we're approaching. Secondly, and probably even more importantly, you want to be calling. So many of these brands are getting hundreds, if not, tens of emails from Amazon sellers just like you each and every week. You know how many of those are likely going directly to their spam or getting deleted or never getting read? A whole lot of them, right? And so if you want to lead with an email, fine. But that follow-up needs to be a phone call. Get in the habit and getting comfortable. I know it's uncomfortable, right? You'll have to get used to it, but picking up the phone and calling. Phone's going to feel real heavy that first or second time. However, as you put in the reps, you'll get more used to it. And then it just ends up being just like a normal conversation that you'd have with any of your friends, right? But that conversation, that phone conversation, is just going to resonate a whole lot more with the brands and sales reps that we're reaching out to as opposed to an email. Right, because now they are corresponding a name with a personality. For example, if I pick up the phone and we're small talk, just chatting about some stuff, and I find out the sales rep's a Yankees fan. Well, now instantly that barrier is lowered. We have that sort of quote unquote trust. The rapport is there. It's building because we have something in common. It creates me as the person on the other side of the phone with a personality. It gives me some charisma. It just establishes some sort of relationship as opposed to just an email, because there's no personality. There's a little personality that comes with an email. So I would say, if you want to email first, fine. Give your spiel, yada, 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 but follow up with a phone call. And then if they say no, or if they don't answer, if you don't get a hold of them, follow up. I would super suggest to have some sort of a CRM database of all the wholesale leads in your entire pipeline. So obviously they start with you sourcing the either wholesale supplier, brand, yada, etc. That's step one. Step two is reaching out. And then track your progress with each and every step of the iteration and how it progresses. Say you reach out to a sales rep. They tell you no, but you learn something. You learn they like fishing, right? Well, now take that note, put it in your CRM, put it in your database, because now when you call back in 3 weeks, now you have a little bit more ammo to bring to the equation, to bring to that conversation. Because now you can reference fishing, or I was just fishing yesterday. I know we talked about a couple weeks ago. You had mentioned that you liked fishing, and have you been recently? The weather's been super nice where I am. What about you guys? Instantly that establishes a bit more charisma, some rapport, because now he may not remember that first conversation, but he just intuitively thinks he knows you, because he can relate to your fishing, and now that's something that you guys have in common. Again, continuing to establish the trust. And even if they say no again, learn something else. Every single time you call a sales rep, you need to learn something about that sales rep, because every time you follow up, you again bring more ammo. So now the second time you've learned about fishing. Now the second time, he has a daughter named Jenna, right? So now the third time, now we know he has a daughter. We can reference that. We know he fishes. We can reference that. And we keep bringing more to the conversation. And each and every level we peel back, it continues to establish more trust, allowing him and encouraging him and really positioning ourselves as someone that he will want to work with, because he's a sales rep. This is going to be a conversation, an ongoing conversation. If he doesn't want to talk to you, he's not going to want to do business with you. The more he enjoys having a conversation with you as a potential business partner, the more he's going to want to and desire to do business with you, because it's just going to be a more fluent conversation. It's just going to be more fluent deals, and so on and so forth. The last piece we're going to talk about today is actually embedded in Smart Scout. It's using a software to add more leverage to our positioning as a third-party seller who wants to onboard a potential brand. And we'll hop into my screen and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about when we're trying to win over these brands. This is where it gets really interesting. So say I'm reaching out to Nature's Edge Coffee and Tea. I've established that's a brand that we really want. We've done our research. All the products, they're stable markets. I want to sell Nature's Edge Coffee and Tea. I can go into Smart Scout, right? And I can actually see their market share. And this is inside the ground coffee sub niche of grocery in the grocery category. Right, so this is a subcategory of grocery, ground coffee. I can see that their market share is 0%. But I can see the amount of revenue that they're doing. I have all this information. And so in one of my follow-ups, if they've told me no, right, if they say, we don't want to open an account with you, yada, 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 I'll send this. I'll take a screenshot of this. I'll put a nice red circle around Nature's Edge Coffee and Tea, and I'll put a circle around their 0% market share. And essentially in that email, it goes, I understand your hesitancy to open up an account with us or allow us to purchase bulk from you, yeah, et cetera, et cetera. I just do want to make you aware that our team did some research, and we see that your market share on Amazon in the ground coffee category is 0%. Now, I'm not sure what your Amazon strategy is as it stands. However, would you be open to a conversation of seeing the ways in which we could potentially increase your market share, and then leave it at that? 10 times out of 10, they are going to open that message, read it, and say, yes, we're open to a conversation. And that's your in, right? That is now opens a door to have that conversation on a level playing field in terms of what you could potentially do to help that brand succeed. Now, the next step is really to start to kind of, this is where private label and wholesale kind of, intertwine. Because now we can go into their actual products and start to kind of pick apart what they've done, right? So we can go into their actual listings and make suggestions. Their primary image, there's no depth. It doesn't have 3D. Maybe their title is a little off. Maybe they don't have any bullet points. All this stuff we can start to use to just build credibility and trust with a specific brand and allowing them to allow us in and encouraging them to allow us in and open up accounts. So using this Smart Scout feature, the market share feature, is just another way we can continue to bring value, establish trust, establish our credibility, and just prove that we know what we're talking about, because they likely don't know their market share. They likely don't even know their competitors, which we have information and insight into. They likely don't know how much their stock their competitors have and their price points and all these things relative to Amazon that you have insight to. So all this stuff we need to bring to the table when we are having these conversations with potential brands which we want to be working with. And so to keep this in mind the next outreach you do, and use all of this to try and provide as much value as you possibly can. That's going to be it for today's video, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next one.